Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is Cheeseboy628 here coming at you with an NPL Season 7 draft analysis. So yeah, it has been a minute since you've last seen me, but I am back for NPL Season 7. I took a break for Season 6, but here we are. So here's what I kind of missed out on last time and what I'd like to update you guys on too in case you haven't seen NPL Season 6. Well, now that we are into Gen 7, crazy that I'm even talking about Gen 7. So there's a number of rules that are still the same. For example, I think we had about 16 teams last time in Season 5, maybe it was adjusted a little bit in that way. But it's divided into 2 conferences now instead of 4, and so also the instruction on what teams make the tournament might be a little bit different because of that. So the top 4 will make it in each division of 8 people, so therefore the top 4 of each 8 will go on. It doesn't matter about the differential other than that. Even if like one conference does like notably better than another, it just is the top 4 from both conferences. But as I said, it still is a draft, and therefore you do pick in a certain order. In my case, I believe I was 10th. I had a couple decisions to pick from there, but none of them were like particularly great options, so I just thought I would pick the earliest of the options I did have, because it really, being kind of in the middle of the selection, doesn't give you a lot of opportunities to over prep on your next pick. So going in the draft order, by the way, once you get to the 16th position, the 16th person goes first, and then it goes back to the person who picked first, etc. And from there, it just keeps on cycling until everyone picks up to 11 mons. Now, you don't need to pick up to 11, but once your points run out, you're not able to pick any more. So you have to choose a little bit wisely there too, because there's always the balance of picking strong enough mons, but also making yourself not too predictable for someone to pick the right team to, counter you. The particularly special rule this time is talking about Z moves, because Z moves were not a thing in Season 5, they were in Season 6, and they've since adapted the rules to go to Season 7. What you can do is you can assign one of your Pokemon to be able to use a Z move during the game, but your opponent is aware of who can use that Z move beforehand, and you are able to change up which Mon can use the Z move based on various trades and some technicalities like that. But without further ado, why don't we get into my draft picks? So for number 1, I got Manaphy. And so like I said, I was 10th for the first round pick, and so I was a little bit worried about getting this thing, but its move pool is super diverse. There's a couple of different options I could use if I wanted to make it my Z move user, and it's just a great Mon all around. It did a lot of work for me in Season 4 and 5. I believe I had it in Season 5. I don't know, it's been a minute. The point is, Manaphy has been great all around. It's bulky. You can do like a bulky rain dance kind of Mon if you want to do like Calm Mind. You can also be aggressive and do Tail Glow. I've even done Physical Scarf, for crying out loud. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it for sure. Now my next pick was Heatran. You're going to see after the next couple of picks that I really just got on this defensive tangent, and that's because I was just looking at various intimidating Mons that came out in Gen 7 and just how it works in NPL, and so just worried about being hexed out and getting a good kind of defensive core to be able to counter as much as possible. That's kind of why I was like, let's get all the defensive Mons. So Heatran, while defensive, does have some offensive capabilities as well. It's known for like being Spec Scarf as well. Also a pretty good Z move user if I want to use it as well. And it's just going to be very good if I can get another defensive Mon to accompany it, but it does get Stealth Rock as well as a great variety of moves, both defensively and offensively. Now my next pick was Sylveon, and I think this was a pretty good pick because Sylveon, being weak to Poison and Steel, is perfect in conjunction with Heatran when you're making a defensive core. Granted, at this point, I still need something to absorb some ground moves, and so I'm going to have to worry about that soon. But again, Sylveon is nice, like Heatran, because it's both defensive, especially defensive particularly, but it can also be an offensive Mon as well, especially with like Specs Hyperboard, so that Pixelate boost. But Sylveon is very nice as it can be a Cleric, it can also be a Wish Passer, and it even gets Baton Pass if I want to have some kind of momentum with that as well. I have U-Turn if I want to on Manaphy, but Baton Pass is also good with Sylveon if I so choose. My next choice is Amoonguss, and I really wanted a bulky grass type. Particularly I wanted something with Spore, and well, the only other grass type really that reliably has that is Breloom, but I'm not going for that offense right now, as I explained a little bit earlier. So Amoonguss is awesome because it's super bulky. It's moderately diverse in that way where I can choose how I want to balance the defenses, and with Regenerator it's going to be pretty difficult to take down. But I love that reliable Spore, and the moves it has aren't the most diverse, so I can only switch up so many moves on it. But the fact that it's a pretty reliable mon for just staying alive and taking hits, it's definitely important to me. Now at this point, I was kind of like, okay, I need to worry about hazard control now. So like I said, I was on this defensive tangent, and that hasn't stopped yet, because now I'm focusing on Donphan. Donphan is another stealth rocker, so now I have two options for that, but also it has rapid spin. So that way, if I want to hazard stack, and by that, you're going to see later that I'm not really worried about hazard stacking, as opposed to just keeping the rocks up and not having to waste time defogging them, I got Donphan, if that's the case I want to do. Plus, Donphan does have some great offensive capabilities, though its SPDF is definitely on the lower side. It's going to depend on how I really want to use it, but being in the NPL, being in this draft style format, it may be better to show off some kind of ridiculous offensive set in the future, but we will see. Now, the next pick is kind of contrary to what I was saying, but I did pick Mandibuzz here, my good old Mandibuzz, where it's super bulky. I love it a lot, and at this point it's because I was getting super paranoid about taking ground hits, and you'll see later it's especially essential that I got something to take some ground hits. So that way it's immune in that way, and if something like Landers, for example, wants to go for an unstabbed Stone Edge, then it's not going to do that much damage to me. Granted, if it's a Z move Stone Edge, that could hurt a lot more, but otherwise Mandibuzz, if physically defensive invested, is going to be able to take those hits. Plus it's got reliable Roost, it's got U-turn, Foul Play, Knockoff. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good mon, and if I want to defog, if I don't want to use Donphan, I always do have this in the reserve if I so choose. Next on my list is Stoutland, and you're going to think, why Stoutland? That's such a weird pick right now. Well, I'll tell you, at this point I was thinking, well, I'm pretty interested in making a sand team. However, at this point, the only pick left for sand was Mega T-Tar. So I thought, okay, well, I do like Mega T-Tar because it's super bulky. Sure, it has a good amount of weaknesses, but it's a great mon still, and it does have that stealth rock option. It's great for handling the Lotties, and I just think it's going to be bulky overall. That it'll be a great support mon for that. And plus, at this point, I have Donphan that's immune. I have Overcoat with Mandibuzz that'll be immune. And then why don't we just get a mon with Sand Rush? So Stoutland was pretty darn good in that way. Also got to say shout out to Jolt for helping me out with this, because I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing at this point, because I'm like, I got my defensive core, but like, what else do I got going on? He's like, you need to get some offensive mons, and so you'll see how this kind of happened. So yeah, with Stoutland, I wanted to get it right away before someone else tried to get that weather abuse. Now, something to keep in mind is Stoutland is 6 points, I believe, but if you use it in conjunction with a mon that has sand, and you are going to use it for speed, then you are going to have to pay 1.4 times for it, but it does round down. So I think it was about 8 points for actually getting it in tandem with the Mega T-Tar later on, but you know, spoiler alert, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. But yeah, I did get this mon before anyone else could really abuse their weather with that, but Stoutland's gonna be great. It's bulky, it has a decent move pool for sure. The only thing is, it's always worrying about, oh, do I pick Band, or do I pick Life Orb, or do I pick Muscle Band? Something like that, where I need to choose how to use its offensive capabilities. So that is why, you know, it's not the highest mon, especially even with conjunction with weather in general, but I think Stoutland will be nice because it'll be a good NPL surprise, and just how draft works. But yeah, going on from here, I just needed a mon that's overall speedy, whether needing rain or not, and so I got Raikou. So I picked this mon before Mega T-Tar because at this point a lot of people picked their Megas already, so it seemed like whoever had that, they already got some of the most valuable picks, at least in their mind, and therefore I thought I was going to be okay with waiting a little bit longer. However, I thought it was more imminent that someone was going to take Raikou, so I got it now. So I haven't used Raikou that much, and so it does worry me a little bit, but I know a lot about its various capabilities. It's most known for being like Sub Calm Mind or like Scarf or Specs, so I'm definitely going to use that. I think it's like base 113 or 115 in regards to speed, so it's in a pretty darn good speed tier. It's got a decent move pool. It's got T-Bolt, Volt Switch, Extra Sensory, sometimes Aura Sphere depending on your nature. And you can throw a hidden power in there. To be honest, I'm not sure why Raikou is as esteemed highly as it is, but I guess I'll figure that out as I experiment with it more in NPL. Point is, it's got a great speed tier, and I'll try to take advantage of that. But yeah, going on here, I talked quite a bit about it already, but Mega T-Tar. So I love Mega T-Tar and the fact that like its stats are just insane. I love it. I love it. I think it's like base 720, I think its BST is. Of course, it's got that typing that's like makes it susceptible to a lot of various types, but especially with that combination of moves with Stone Edge and Crunch and Pursuit, and then the diversity of moves that it can get when it goes from Stealth Rock to Earthquake to Fire Punch to Ice Punch. It's amazing what it can do. And there's a lot of various capabilities that T-Tar is going to be able to do. I'm stoked for it, especially against the Lotties, because I did not get a Lottie. I did want to get one, but unfortunately I did not have said luck. I was trying to get a Dragon type, but you know, overall I kind of just didn't luck out there, and therefore I wanted to get like Chomp or one of the Lotties, but since that didn't work out, well, this is kind of the next best thing. I was thinking about getting Mega Chomp, but yeah, I just thought Mega T-Tar was going to be the best overall. Going on from here though, I did get Swellow. So these last two picks went together because I was talking to Jolt. I was like, okay, I got like 13 points left. That's enough for 2 decent Mons. I just wasn't sure what I was going to end up going with. But he suggested that I do Swellow, and the next Mon you'll see in a second. And I was like, oh really, Swellow? I just don't think it's going to be that good. But he's like, no, it's like because of its special attack boost and plus the fact that it has Boom Burst, it's actually a lot better now, and it's the reason that its points practically doubled in the past season. So I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try. And so like looking at various damage calcs and things, I totally see what he means. Swellow is fast, it has U-turn capabilities, it has access to Boom Burst, and so it's going to be a pretty good specially based Mon. I mean, if I want to do Guts, I can definitely do that as well, and its attack stat is still higher, and then you apply Guts and it's still going to be super strong. So the point is, it's definitely, it's a one-trick pony in the case of offensive capabilities, but physical or special, good luck on predicting that. Finally though, I did get Gallade. So this is basically my poor man's Medicham in a lot of ways. It's got the same typing, I just did not have the right investment, I don't think, for having Medicham. I couldn't get Mega Medi this time. We'll see how Mega T-Tar really works out for me. But yeah, with Gallade, it's got some decent typing. I needed something to be able to take some fighting hits, and so this technically is able to. I believe it's like a base 80 speed tier that it's in, which isn't bad at all. It's definitely faster than I expected. It's pretty good on the special side when it comes to bulk, but physical, it's definitely not the most pleasing. But still, it should be able to take some fighting hits, and that was one of my biggest worries at this point. Fighting and ground were honestly my worst weaknesses that made me kind of paranoid, so I had to try to find something for both. But yeah, Gallade has a couple of different niches for sure in regards to bulk up, in regards to sword stance. It's got some decent offensive capabilities for sure, and if I want to make it bulky, I can do that just as well. It might get Wish. I know Gardevoir does, right? So it could be a tank in that way too. But finally, my Z Captain, the Pokemon that I chose to be able to have access to the Z move. That is Manaphy. So yeah, I was telling you a little bit earlier how Heatran and Manaphy were both great candidates for the Z move. Well, I did end up choosing Manaphy, mostly because I'm kind of basic in that way. I have a lot to learn when it comes to picking what I want really for a Z move Mon, especially if I want to trick some people. Because Manaphy is pretty well known for its Z moves at this point. It's got that Hydro Vortex and it's got that Z Rain Dance. Z Rain Dance is pretty cool where it sets up rain for 5 turns and increases your speed stat by 1 stage. So it's basically, it puts a scarf on you, it puts rain on, and then you have the hydration. So if you want to rest, you can just recover, or if you get status, you'll be fine with that too. But Hydro Vortex is also good if you want to trick up people where it's like, oh, he's setting up, I need to get him on and to counter it. Nope, Hydro Vortex, boom. So Hydro Vortex is pretty cool. I think it's like base 150 when you combine it with Surf, so it's pretty strong in that, right? Better than a Specs one. Well, I guess depending, but the point is that Manaphy's a good Mon with this utility, but it's kind of predictable. So depending, I might want to switch that up, but for now, I'm going to keep it as is. But with that said, that really was my draft analysis. Worries about this season. At this point, NPL is becoming super legit, and I'm stoked for that, but it's making the competition kind of intimidating. So people in my conference include Jolt and Gypsy. So I'm fretting a little bit. I'm shaking in my boots, but you know what? We'll see how this goes, and until next time, you will see Battle 1 against Rizzy Sucks. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, sub, and until later. Peace.